of GDP of states that let us know what 11 states out of the 36 are currently contributing to the entire economy. I think if we shift the argument for restructuring more on economic fundamentals, the better it is for all of us to understand the reason why certain responsibilities ought to be located in certain jurisdictions. It is not just an exercise in power sharing, but power to promote the economy, to create jobs, and to improve the livelihoods of people. For example, it's been said that poverty is worsening in Nigeria. A figure of over 70% is currently being quoted. The truth of the matter is that behind that statistics are human beings that are resident in states. Therefore, the earlier we realize that states are the future of Nigeria, and therefore they should be supported with the necessary powers and instruments of governance in order for them to fulfill their mandate of political and economic management of units of the Federation, the better for us. And that is the perspective in which I see all of this. Why do we need police in states? Is to protect the economy of the state, is to ensure that there is safety of life and property and that businesses are comfortable. That is the reason why police should go to state, not because governors want to flex muscles, but because they need policing in order to protect the economy and to ensure that investments are safe and they are truly chief executive of their states when it comes to security. Not a situation where a state governor gives directive to a police commissioner and the police commissioner has to take permission from an inspector general that reports to the president. That is not an efficient system. The issue of poverty, children out of schools, the truth of the matter is that it is in states where rubber meets the road. That is where services are being demanded. That is where production is taking place. That is where jobs are being created. That is where businesses are located. And that is where resources are needed the most. So when people are clamoring for restructuring of the revenue allocation formula, it is not because states necessarily want to get richer. It is because that is where resources are needed to address the challenges of human livelihoods. It is on this economic platform that I would like us to begin to see restructuring and federalism rather than purely as a political tool for control or for some kind of central hegemony. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Qualified panel of discussants, and I think there is a very clear consensus emerging. One, that clearly restructuring is not just a kind of option, it is a necessity. That it is necessary that we strengthen the states. That's where the economy really is. That is where you can address and solve the problems of poverty. And that's where you need to protect investments. And I may add, as some of you here very well know, that the state of California, which is just one of many states of the United States, actually represents the fifth, of the world economy. Just one state. And I think it's important to emphasize, because we need to have a mental shift in the way we approach these discussions. In the state of California, it's not like Texas. There is no oil. It's basic creativity. You have all the Silicon Valley there. And therefore, it's important that we emphasize that we have to have a mental shift as a nation to see these discussions in the way they should be seen, in the way that will relieve us from that encumbrances of very, living in the past, as it were. We have to be able to appreciate the future. And if we don't appreciate the future, we're going to be left behind. Because, graphic a very fat federal government with too many responsibilities, and is not able to move as fast as it should. And because of the fact that it's not moving, we're all stuck waiting for this very fat, federal government to be moving. So it's very important and it's very urgent. And I would like to say that and push it further. And I thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much.
I think we can go.
Yeah, I think so.
Congratulate Baba Biscon on his 80th birthday. At 80, Baba remains one of the most trusted and most revered voices in our nation today. The reason is simple. He has remained all his life a straight shooter, to that of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Is an example of the generation of, is an example to the generation of politicians that follow. The example he sets is that it is possible to be truthful and still impactful. It is possible to live decently after office without necessarily looting the treasury. I had the privilege of delivering Baba's 70th birthday lecture in Lagos in 2008, where, based on the work of our forensic experts, we demonstrated the electoral fraud that was perpetrated by the PDP in 2007, in the 2007 elections. And one of the important points that we must bear in mind is that just like the proverbial leopard, they have not changed their spots. And we must be careful, even as we go into another set of elections, that we are as vigilant as is possible. But permit me a word or two on the restructuring question. I don't think there should be much argument about the fact that we do need restructuring of our country one way or the other. Question, of course, is the focus. How should this be done? In what way? One of the key things is that in order to achieve any kind of restructuring, we need stronger states. What does the concept of stronger states mean? It means two things. The first is what states must do for themselves. By that I mean the three arms of government, what the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary must do, working proactively and creatively together. The second is the devolution of powers, more powers to the state, enabling the states to control more of their resources and make more of their own administrative decisions, such as the creation of local governments, state police, community policing, including state prisons, creation of special courts and tribunals of equivalent jurisdiction to high courts. The point I'm making is that states must have more powers and more rights. But I want to say, just before I give an example, I want to say categorically that what we are down to today is a matter of method. How? It's not a matter of whether it is good, whether we should do it or should not. The question is how. How should it be done? I think we should focus our attention on the how. And I will explain in a few minutes what it is that has been done, what has been done before on this issue of restructuring, and what we should do going forward. I want to give an example first of the phenomenal achievements of the Western Regional Government of Chief Obafemi Awolowo in 6 years. This illustrates how the convergence of the two imperatives I mentioned earlier can be used to transform the socio-economic destinies of millions. He was Premier of the Western region of Nigeria from 1954 to 1960. The Western region is what today constitutes Oyo, Ogun, Ondo, Ekiti, Osun, parts of Kwara, and industrial estates or parks.